Hey everybody, and welcome to the Logan Power Show. It's me, your host, Calvin Logan, and I don't want to take this time lightly to waste your time, but we want to make sure we get indulged to a great topic here on today. Trust and believe you want to be locked in on what we're going to talk about today. The two things that we have on the docket for us, we're going to talk about the important needs for fathers in this generation, and how can fathers bridge the gap in this generation, in this current generation, this current time and season. I got with me, he is the president of the United Crowns Foundation nonprofit, and he's the CEO of the United Crowns Collection LLC clothing company, the one and only Dr. Tracy Washington. How you doing, Dr. Washington?
Hey, I'm doing good. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm good. Glad to have you here. Glad to be a part here of the Logan Power Show. For you to
Absolutely.
bless us here. Want to talk to you. This is just your expertise, your personal opinion, and that's what we're doing here, ladies and gentlemen. This is somebody who I've watched over time, things that he shared, things that he posted. He has a thing that a great social media platform. He talks about kings and queens. He talks about kings
Absolutely.
and how we need to look at ourselves as kings, look and our ladies look us up as queens. Nothing against any other nationality, but we have to acknowledge we are African Americans. Um, and I want to put that other stigma out here of saying like you're not born, you're not from Africa. Well, it's called descendants, like anything else. Let's be honest. If you're proud of what your roots, you're proud of what you're where you originated from, then that's what you can be proud of. So, Dr.
Absolutely.
Washington,
Yes, sir.
let's talk about for yourself, your personal expertise. Why is it important for fathers? What is the connection that you believe that there's a need for fathers in this generation in your personal take?
Just to start off, thank you for inviting me to the show. And this is like a great topic for me, and near and dear to my heart. Because I am a father. I'm a father of three. I have a 26-year-old, a 25-year-old, and I have an 8-year-old. So I got the span of a few generations in there. But I think more now than ever, fathers are so important. And no disrespect to all our Black queens that are out there that are raising, their children by themselves, or the father may not be in the children's lives, but it's very important that we do so. If we look at just the climate that's going on now, Calvin, you see, we just had a 13-year-old get murdered by a policeman in Chicago. We had George Floyd murdered again by another police officer. Then you had another young man, Dante Wright, who was shot by a police officer. And I think now is the time that Black fathers especially need to embrace that role and understand the importance of how our children look at us and how we conduct ourselves and how we go about doing social change, how we go about being a man, being a father, being a brother, being a friend, being a husband. That's where they get that example from. And that's why it's so important that we take an active role. And when I say active role, there's been a lot of myths out there, especially conservative rhetoric that says, there's absentee fathers in the Black home, and there's Black children of fathers. But we know that's totally false through a lot of studies. And truth be told, in a lot of comprehensive reports, it shows that Black fathers are more engaged than any other race when it comes to their children, whether it be education, sports, whatever. We're in there doing it.
Absolutely, and I want people to understand. It's not just senseless killings that we see on a constant basis. Let's
Yep.
just talk about the rhetoric, the tone. The
Mhm.
African American officer in December of last year
Yep.
simply got pulled over. He went a mile down the road.
Yep.
He's an officer in the United States military. Pepper
Yes.
sprayed,
Yep.
literally pepper
Not too
sprayed.
far from my home. Yep.
Exactly. Almost lost his life. Listen, I don't care
Absolutely.
anybody. The pepper spray, something is real. Um, if he reacted in an aggressive way, he would have
Mhm.
lost his life. That'd have been another person going down. And we're just not just talking about just the disconnect between law enforcement and the community. It's
Mhm.
just uh,
Absolutely.
our own problems in our own community. I hate when people say
Absolutely.
black on black crime. It's just crime, period.
It's crime. Yeah.
It's crime, period. But I want people to understand, and when you look at life, um, when a woman has a child, there is a father in place because the father had to have something
Absolutely.
for conception to come into place.
Absolutely.
It wasn't like we went to the sperm bank. Even with that, there's still a person who gave that. So there was a male seed who
Yes.
was present. This is not a cloning situation.
Nope.
I don't want people to understand that this that falsified out there, but there is a problem that I believe wholeheartedly that we as a people have to acknowledge that there is a difference. Like I said, a woman is doing a lot, but there's a difference when you have a male presence when it comes
Absolutely.
to a home. Let's be honest. And if an intruder comes into the house, a female is going to say, "Hey, that's your responsibility to make sure that intruder does not proceed past the threshold of
Absolutely.
our home." Or if there's a fight that breaks out, you're not going to tell a woman to break up two males. No, you're going to have a male will step in and say, "Hey, let's break this fight up. Let's make a difference there. Let's try to
Absolutely.
do so." Now for you, because you have
Yes.
three. Your youngest, your daughter, who
Hmm.
who do show
My
a lot.
princess.
Your
Yeah,
princess, and there is a difference.
it is.
And because let's go through a couple of stigmas that we want to acknowledge, ladies and gentlemen. This is a man who takes care of all three. Two that are adults. One is a princess who is still learning her way.
Absolutely.
Her father is a doctor. That's a whole nother um as you would say, look. Like people said, like what made the Cosby show so pivotal is that you had two doctors in the home. So education mindset wasn't like we're behind. It was like this is a well-educated home. If my child acts up or my child does these things, it's not because they wasn't given the proper education or the proper morals and values, and you're not going to look down upon me of where I work at, those type of things. So for you, how has it been when you take your little girl to school and the
Yes.
conversation with the teacher, and they say, "Well, who are you?" And I
Mhm.
say, "Well, when people are like, oh, that's Dr. Tracy P. Washington.
Mhm.
That's my daughter." What's the conversation been like? Because I gotta know, because I think some people gotta know what's the difference in your eyes.
To be honest with you, I think the conversation does change. But normally, on the school paperwork, I don't usually put that. And when the conversation, because matter of fact, her mom and I had to go in because my daughter was having certain difficulties with certain subjects. And as the principal was going on and he was talking, and I'm looking like, okay, are you not talking to a 13-year-old here? And I said, well, let me hold this conversation real quick. I have my doctorate and I'm an assistant professor at two universities, so I understand education system, and the whole conversation changed. But I think for me though, with the education, with the businesses, what I teach my daughter is, and my children, as a matter of fact, that they can do this or they can do things that daddy will never be able to achieve, because they have the possibility. My daughter is with me every step of the way. Anytime I do business, she's there. When I do my taxes, she's there. When I'm grading papers, she's there. Even when I was prepping for this interview, she goes, "Daddy, you need to hot comb your beard on this side." All right, baby, come on now. But definitely going back to something you brought up about the male being in the home, it just gives that extra security, that extra um, guidance and perspective when it comes to raising children. And I believe that as a male, she is learning something totally different from me than she is her mother. And one thing that I would say, I truly believe in my experience in working with mental health for 25 years in the Air Force, I believe that my daughter is putting together in her little mind what a man should be, and how a man should treat her, how a man makes decisions, and my thought process behind things. I take my daughter on little dates and things so she'll understand. I took her to a trip to Europe, to France, Germany, and Italy, because I want her to understand there's a big world out there, and I want to make it hard for those future gentlemen that's trying to date her too. But we'll talk about something else. I digress.
These are the things that I tell people is being well rounded.
Absolutely.
When a young lady's well rounded, it makes it hard for someone who is not well rounded to make a pitch without no type of
Absolutely.
vision area. Listen, I'm not trying to belittle. I shout out to every woman who is raising a child by themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But let's be truthful. There are certain things that is being mentally, like you can as a mental profession, that there's certain things that a child needs, that there a
Yes.
male plays a role. You can't say,
Absolutely.
well, you can do it by yourself. Totally get it. But I tell people, you cannot raise a man. You cannot tell a young boy how to become a man when you're the opposite gender. It's impossible because there's certain things that male needs to be able to define the
Absolutely.
identity of who he is. And a female, what the first love that a little girl could get on the opposite sex should be her father. It should be, I come to my father with a hug. It should be
Mhm.
open arms. I shouldn't be afraid to give my father a hug because that's the first embrace of
Absolutely.
the opposite. So these are some things I just want to address. So how, for your mental profession, explain that to some of the folks that may be unaware.
Okay, and let me touch base before I answer that. Let me touch base with something too for the everybody listening and watching the show. When I speak of fathers, I'm talking of biological fathers. I'm speaking of grandfathers, uncles, any male figures that is that role model for that child. Needs to play that influence as well too, because I know there's a lot of mixed families out there, but in a lot of different situations. So that's what I'm speaking to. As far as mental health, I worked in mental health for 25 years in the military, working in all facets of mental health, whether regular outpatient mental health, inpatient mental health, substance abuse. I'm a certified substance abuse counselor. Also, I worked in family advocacy, which touches on what we're talking about today when we talk about maltreatment, when we talk about family development as well too. So we offered a lot of things, especially to fathers, to actually learn how to change diapers, how to interact with children. And like you said before, it's a big difference between a little boy and a little girl. And the way that you kind of approach those things and their emotional and physical and spiritual needs as well too. So
Absolutely. Now,
mm,
one thing that for myself as an educator, what people try to sort of stigmatize is when a young male lashes out or a young male shows concern,
mm,
but it's considered to be either aggressive, too
yes,
aggressive, or it's considered to be you have to medicate that young male to calm down or stay in their place. And a lot of times you see it a lot in education, personal experience,
hmm,
when someone says, who you make a phone call to, the first thing that the mindset is I'm gonna call the mother, but I
yeah,
never hear say I'm gonna call the father
absolutely.
in the context. So just from your perspective, since
Mm,
it's a two-parent household,
mm,
when you had the discussion with the principal, you said, "Well, hold up, wait a second. I
absolutely.
understand where you're coming from,
Mm,
but this is a two-parent household.
that's right.
So let's understand. So, in your personal perspective, how has conversations changed, or when it comes to education, what do you see sort of the failing gaps when it comes to, the two-parent household, the one parent, or there's not a male role model there with the young people in your personal experience?
I think it's very important. I think, and I truly believe that there has to be an assertive effort to be a part of your child's education. Because I'll tell you, me and my daughter's mom are not married anymore, but I will tell you that I'm very adamant. Every time school year starts, I go and meet the principal, I meet the vice principal, and I meet her teachers. I ensure that my name is put on every piece of paperwork. I make sure that they call me. Any email that goes out concerning my daughter will have me in the two box or the CC box. And it's that constant reminder because just the other day, an email went out and her mom sent it to me, and I'm thinking like, why didn't I get this? So I made the first thing I did was address, the email with her, and then I called the school. And then the secretary, oh, I'm sorry. And, well, just don't be sorry, just don't do it again because that's important to me to be in my child's education and understanding from my, and getting it firsthand from a teacher. Um, a lot of times, just like you say, moms are usually the ones I see going to, like, well, now that COVID's here, it's a little different, but moms are usually the ones I see picking up the kids or going to the plays or the whatever school activities. But if you can, fathers that are out there listening, I will tell you, it means the world, especially to your child. If you know, if they see their mom there, but if they could see their dad come as well too, because it doesn't happen that often in my experiences. And my daughter's going to 4 different schools now across the states because I was in the military. And I can tell you, not too many dads throughout all those schools really showed up. And I think that's what a key difference is really making that concerted effort and saying, and it doesn't take too much effort because all you have to do is go up, ensure your name's on all the paperwork and just engage with the principal. Because as soon as you start to engage, they understand that I'm just not going to let anything slip by when it comes to my child's education. And I'm going to be there. I'm going to be present, and I'm going to be vocal.
Absolutely. And I can concur from my personal experience. When you do that, the conversation does change. And
Absolutely.
when you say that you know what you're talking about, then the conversation even goes to a higher level degree. Now, final thought question. This generation is a
Mhm.
difference. It's a
Yes,
huge difference
absolutely.
when it comes to uh, the father being either present, non-present.
Mhm.
What role does the father play? I'm not listening. There are some young people where the father has either passed on and either
Mhm.
uncle takes in place, godfather, grandfather, whatever. We're
Yes.
talking about the father role as a whole. Speaking to
Mhm.
the entire fathers, what can the fathers do to change not only the Department of Education's mindset when it comes to a male,
Mhm.
Hollywood as well, because
Absolutely.
Hollywood does give a differential when it comes to a father's role, especially
Absolutely.
in certain, um, not just in racial differences. Entertainment has shown a difference, and also with sports, when it
Yes.
comes to a father's role, you see it a lot on
Mhm.
a major scale.
Yes.
What can the father do? What can the fathers do to get themselves back on the playing field? Because I even see now, just in child support, just things of how the society says it. They say, well, even if the like, and I tell people right now, even if you and the mom are not on the same page in the same
Absolutely.
house, I don't see a problem if a father says, you know what, I got the child full time, and
Mhm.
you take weekends too, or we switch.
Yes.
Oh, So what can your personal opinion? What can the fathers do to get back on the field,
As far as getting back into their children's lives.
back in the children's lives? What can we
Okay.
do to change how Capitol Hill sees fathers, Department of
Mhm.
Education,
Mhm.
entertainment, sports, not
Okay.
just the fathers on the sideline.
Yep.
I'm at the game, but the father
Mhm.
that tells the coach, "Yo, I'm here. If my son or my
Mhm.
daughter is acting up, the reinforcement is not just the mother. I'm
Yes.
right here. Or the reinforcement is at graduation. She ain't there. I'm here. Or if we're not together, it's a team. What can we
Yes.
do to change how all these streaming sites and television? How can they look the father as a different light than how
Okay.
society's put it out there?
Well, I think that's a really complex question, first and foremost, especially when it comes to media and things like that. But I would say to everybody listening now, to start with, let's forget about what the media thinks about us, because we already know that as we're viewed, especially our people, how great we are and how beautiful we are. We always get the bad end of that stick sometimes. But for fathers who aren't there, that are healthy fathers that are doing the things they need to do, or, paying the child support and still having issues, I would tell every father out there, you have legal rights. I did all of the paperwork myself for my joint custody. I have my daughter 2 weeks out of every month, and her mother has her the other two. And you go to court, you can do that yourself. It doesn't take a lawyer. You don't have to have one. That's a myth. And then too, I'm not a lawyer by trade. Trust me, I'm not. I know business law, but I do not know family law. But the internet is a powerful tool, because in most states you can file the paperwork yourself, and it didn't cost me a dime in the state of Virginia, because it has to do with child care or child visitation. And I think that's the first step. Get your legal paperwork squared away. That's so important because that ensures that you're going to have your visitation time or your time with your child. That's really important. That's first and foremost. And then again, we have to change our mindsets as well too when it comes to our children and the importance of it. I understand that we have all these goals and these visions and work, and we got COVID-19 going on, but we have to compartmentalize that because I'm telling you, we are raising the future kings and queens of our community, our future leaders, our future doctors, and they need us in their lives. So it's going to have to be a mindset change with us as well, where we put our children first. We are honest with our children. We have open, candid conversations with our children as well too. As far as, again, as far as when we talk about, you know, rechanging that our, just like my, well, excuse me, just like my clothing company says, our logo, our motto is reclaiming our narrative. And that's up to us fathers to do, not everybody else. What we have to do is continue. I don't care if you get upset with your ex, your girlfriend, or whatever. We have to put those things aside sometimes because that's the petty foolishness that keeps us out of the lie. Because I'm mad at you, I'm not going to see the kids, or I'm not going to let you see the kids. We got to get rid of all of that. So sometimes you just have to bite your tongue and say, okay, whatever. And then, you know, get your kids and still be there no matter what happens to them, and be involved in all aspects of your children's lives, not just going to the sports games or to the plays and things like that, but sitting down with them, doing homework with them, helping them work those problems. Also, you know, teaching them man type skills, because as my sons grew up, yeah, I had to teach them how to shave, how to tie a tie, how to, you know, if you're taking this young lady out on the date, you need to go to that door. I don't care if she said my dad and them didn't say you had to meet her. You need to go introduce yourself. You need to, you know, be respectful while you're on that date. Make sure you have, you know, get her back on time, whatever time that our, you know, myself and the parents, you know, other parents deal with. And that's another thing. Be involved in those relationships that your children are getting in. Understand who they're out there hanging out with. And I can tell you, my sons are 26 and 25 now, and they used to get pissed when I used to say, "Oh no, you're not going until I meet their parents," or "Okay, where you going? Oh, okay, y'all go to. Okay, well, don't be surprised if I show up." And they used to get pissed, but now at 26 and 25, they understand because now I'm about to be a grandfather in July, and now my son understands now why I was doing the things I was doing as he thinks about the birth of his daughter coming soon. So, you know, it's about taking that active role. And I'm not saying be intrusive in your kids' lives to the point where it's just exhausting, but you need to know every aspect of what's going on. And I think as fathers, if we do that and we show that tough love, not just giving gifts and things to make up for time, because personally, and Calvin, I will tell you this, I'm blessed, a blessed man to be able to give my daughter the things I give her, but she probably couldn't tell you 10 things like gifts I gave her in the last year. But she can tell me almost every conversation that we had, like a deep conversation, or experiences we had, like going on walks, or painting fingernails with her, or letting her braid my beard, or what have you. She knows that. And that's important to her, that she's going to carry that when she has children. She's going to look for a man that's going to kind of emulate, not be the same, but emulate some of those same characteristics. And that's how we get ourselves on the field, because we're grooming the next generation of men in this country, our Black kings, to be men, to be the kings that they truly are, and exude that royalty that's in their DNA right now.
Amen. Amen. You heard it live here, the Logan Power Show. Dr. Tracy P. Washington, we want to thank you again for blessing us. I
Thank you,
believe
brother.
that no problem. I think kings like you need to always come on. We definitely get you back again.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
I want to give a shout out to every father out there who's put in the work. If you're an uncle, put in the work. Godfather,
That's right.
grandfather, brother, a friend. If you a male, put in the work. Listen, true men don't showcase their true
That's right.
workmanship. It's
That's right.
like I said, their children will speak for them. At the end of the day, if you're a father that's put in the work, if you're not present for a day or for a couple of hours, your children will make noise and they'll say like, "Hey,
Oh, yeah.
I ain't seen you in a minute." You know,
That's right.
what's up? Let's have that conversation. And I
That's right.
believe that we need to have that, know that we're together, and let's keep the faith because God's got to change this country. And I believe it will happen. So
Yeah.
I want y'all to stay focused, stay locked. This is your host, Calvin, the Logan Power Show, nationwide, worldwide. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll see you soon.